Well, we finally have a debt deal, and thank God, government is able to charge on the credit card just one more time. In the center of that turned out to be someone we know pretty well, Grover Norquist from Americans for Tax Reform, who we're going to talk to over Skype right now. Grover, so glad to have you. Welcome to Colorado virtually.
Absolutely, John. Good to be with you.
All right, talk to me a little bit about what happened during this debate, because your name kept popping up that somehow you and Americans for Tax Reform got stuck in the middle of this fight because so many members of Congress have taken your pledge not to raise taxes. What was the behind-the-scenes story?
Well, what happened was that Reid, Pelosi, and Obama came in 3 years ago and spent a great deal of money. And they wanted to continue spending a great deal of money. They added $1 trillion to the budget this year over 3 years ago, $1 trillion in 1 year. So they went to the Republicans and said, hey, we're spending $10 trillion more over the next decade than we're bringing in. So why don't you Republicans be reasonable and go
nicely
ahead
done.
and raise taxes to pay for our bigger government. How about that? Would that be a good idea? And in the past, 1982 and 1990, the Republicans had always been willing to raise taxes to pay for the Democrats' spending. This time, because people had learned from 82 when Reagan got cheated, and they learned from 90 when Bush got cheated and defeated in the next election because he raised taxes, they learned and said, we're not going to do that again. And in point of fact, if Obama had been paying attention, he might have noticed that no Republican has voted to increase income taxes since 1990. That's 21 years ago. So people who think the modern Republican Party will raise taxes when asked are very old.
But can't we honestly say that a lot of this started under George Bush's watch? I understand that our president has put it into warp drive, but there was a substantial amount of debt spending going on under George W. Bush. Don't Republicans have some share of that?
Oh, for sure. Look, Bush never considered total government spending as a metric that he focused on. He didn't raise taxes, good start, but then he forgot step two, stop spending so much of other people's money. And Bush was slightly distracted because he spent the last 5 years of his presidency being the mayor of Baghdad and didn't have time to be president of the United States. And so if you're not focused on keeping spending down, it's like crabgrass in D.C. It just grows and grows and grows. Now, Obama comes in and goes crazy, but he had a good head start with Bush's overspending to begin with.
Talk to me a little bit about the deal that was struck. It got right down to the wire. Everyone was scared that government wouldn't be funded. First of all, if government weren't funded, how horrific would it really be? And secondly, tell me about the debt deal. Is this something that we should be happy about, or was it a bad deal?
Well, Obama said, look, I'm going to close down the government and stop paying our bills, stop paying interest on the national debt. If you Republicans won't allow us to raise taxes. That was threat. He was threatening to close the government down and default on our debts so that the Chinese and everybody else wouldn't lend us money anymore unless he got a tax increase. And the Republicans stared him down and said, no, we'll cut spending. We're not going to raise taxes to pay for your big government. If the problem is spending too much money, how does raising taxes help? Raising taxes enables big spending. It doesn't reduce overspending. If Obama wants to quit smoking cigarettes, as he should, the answer to that isn't to buy him another pack of cigarettes. It's to tell him to stop smoking so much. So he needs to stop smoking so much and stop spending so much, not raising taxes to pay for bigger government.
But overall, is this a good deal? Is this a good deal or a bad deal? If you were voting, would you have voted yes or no?
Oh, I would have voted yes, because this was not Armageddon. This was not the final fight to settle the size of government. This was Bull Run. This was the first fight. And we took $2.5 trillion off the table, and we didn't raise taxes. And we set up the Boehner rule, Speaker Boehner's rule. When you come back and want to raise the debt ceiling from now into infinity, you have to cut spending by the same amount that you raise the debt ceiling. With that new rule, which we need to apply to Republican presidents as well as Democrat presidents, we can begin to bend the cost curve of government down. We are now walking in the wrong direction slowly rather than running in the wrong direction.
This debt deal is going to come back to haunt us. First of all, talk to me a little bit about, I agree, it's a good start. The Tea Party candidates that got in, this new freshman class of Republicans really pushed this issue. Before, Republicans just gave a rubber stamp to every debt ceiling increase. I've heard a lot of people call the latest debt somehow the Tea Party debt. That one doesn't fly with me. But tell me, was it the freshman congressman that really led the charge?
Well, it was the Tea Party that changed the nature of the modern Republican Party. Prior to the Tea Party movement, 2009, 2010, the Republican Party wouldn't raise your taxes, wouldn't spend as much as the Democrats, but they weren't focused on wrestling spending to the ground. They just weren't focused on that. And now we know that there's a Tea Party vote and a Tea Party movement and Tea Party leadership, which won primaries, won general elections, and the Republicans understand, the leadership of the Republican Party understands, you need to have spending as one of your key metrics, one of the things you focus on. And what Washington, D.C., the establishment's unhappy about is this is the first time that when they came and asked for a debt ceiling, they had to give something back. They had to begin to cut spending. That's why they're mad. The Tea Party won the beginning fight, which is spend less, spend less.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to get into the presidential race because that's going to be on us before we know it. You have a little pledge that is one of the most effective tools to rein in government. It is the no tax pledge. I think maybe you ought to think about a no spending pledge. But quite simply, you have candidates sign a pledge that says, I will not raise taxes. I won't vote to raise taxes. And as president, I'll veto any tax increase. You had some guys who signed that. I believe Reagan did, and Bush the elder. Bush the elder broke that pledge, did he not?
Bush Sr., Bush 41, took the pledge, won the primary, took the pledge, won the general, broke the pledge, lost the presidency. Look, we can't be perfect in life. Some people serve as bad examples. That's what Bush 41 did.
What about now? Bush the younger, W, signed the pledge. That served him very well.
And kept it. Did not raise taxes.
But unfortunately, he spent too much. Talk to me a little bit about this field of candidates right now. The Iowa, all eyes are going to Iowa. We've got Rick Perry in there. Who signed so far? Who have you met with personally?
I've met with all of them personally, and all of them have signed the pledge. In Rick Perry's case, he hasn't physically signed it yet. I'm going to go up, I think, and do an event with him in New Hampshire, but he said he will. Huntsman has not signed. All the others have either signed or, in Rick Perry's case, committed to signing. And Rick Perry, as a governor, both took the pledge, signed the pledge, and kept it. Huntsman of Utah, when he was governor of Utah, did not sign the pledge then. He did not raise taxes, but he did not sign the pledge. We are scheduled to meet. I hope will be able to convince him that the pledge is a commitment he should make, not to me or to Americans for tax reform, but to the voters of the United States of America.
Why is the pledge so important? Why is it that it causes so many problems when broken? What's the special political value of it?
Sure. For 3,000 plus years, people who want political power have said to serfs, citizens, voters, the guys in the country next door, hey, if you let me be king, president, emperor, I won't raise your taxes. And usually they're lying. But you can't tell the difference between the guy who's promising and the guy who means it. What the pledge does is it makes it easier for voters to know if they can trust an elected official. We ask people to sign a written pledge, not say something in an offhand way to a Chamber of Commerce luncheon one time with no TV cameras there, but signed, 2 witnesses. We share it with everybody in the district. So if somebody takes the pledge and they ever break it, people know it. It's easier to beat them in a primary or a general. The object lesson of a president of the United States who won the Cold War, who got Iraq out of Kuwait without getting stuck occupying the place for the next 12 years, losing the presidency, an otherwise successful presidency because he broke his word on taxes, really helps focus the mind of other elected officials. So what the pledge does is it makes it easier for an elected official or a challenger to credibly commit not to raise taxes. Democrats don't sign the pledge because they plan on raising taxes. Liberal Republicans don't sign the pledge because they plan on raising your taxes. People take the pledge only when they really mean it, because they know if they break it, everybody in their district will look at them and go, liar.
With that as a standpoint, all the Republicans sign it. Give me some handicapping. Who here has the best shot of beating Obama? Right now, it looks like anybody can beat Obama, but I'll go back to George H.W. George H.W. had approval ratings of 93% at one point. No one of any credibility was going to run against him. And then he fell off and he lost. So tell me, who's going to hold the Republicans together? Who's going to win? And does Obama have a good shot of bouncing back? I think his death sentence is a little too early.
Well, it is. Look, it's 50-50 on whether Obama can keep the presidency, simply because the power of the presidency of incumbency is very, very strong. And he's got all three networks cheerleading for him, the establishment press as well. That said, he's done a very bad job as president. He was a very good campaigner and a very lousy president. He's made the economy worse than it was before, and it wasn't very good when he came in. So, he's killed more jobs. He hasn't created jobs. He's put more people out of business. He hasn't created new businesses. The economy is moving in the wrong direction by every metric, and it's gotten worse since he started calling the plays. The stimulus spending wasted money and killed jobs. Not exactly useful or helpful.
With only about a minute left, give me the idea. Right now, I see a Tea Party candidate growing between Bachmann and Rick Perry. I see more of a conventional candidate with Mitt Romney. Who's going to win this fight?
I think you've listed the three that can win at this point. Bachmann, Perry, and Romney. They'd all be better than the incumbent. They've all committed not to raise taxes. I'm in favor of long, drawn-out, bloody fistfights in a primary, because we need to know that the person we send up against Obama doesn't have a glass jaw.
Does Obamacare win it for us? And if Romney wins, doesn't Massachusetts Romney care sink him?
The biggest boat anchor that Romney drags behind him is the Massachusetts mandate, the Massachusetts version of Obamacare. I really think Romney needs to look at that and make the case, which I think he can. It says, look, I got stuck with this in liberal Massachusetts. It didn't work. This is what we need to avoid. What he needs to do is first apologize for it. Hey, Grover, thanks for joining us via Skype. We'll check in next time. I'm Jon Caldara. Check me out late nights on 850 KOA. Go to 850KOA.com. And, of course, independenceinstitute.org. Tell a friend. We'll see you next week.